Well, I'm not really good at this, but Tom had wanted people to say, maybe I thought maybe to do a video of what Chet Atkins had meant to me in my life, and so I think I'll give it a shot here. When I was, well, when I my real dad passed away in a car accident when I was 2.5, and so I lived with my grandparents for a few years till my mom got her life back together, and she met the man who would end up being my stepdad, but who would be the only dad I knew. But he came from a musical family. My grandfather was a really good old time fiddle player, but that was about it as far as in that family of people that played music. But in my stepdad's family, it was my uncle played bluegrass and had been on TV a few times with Don Reno and Red Smiley and Bill Harrell. And you know, I used to watch him play as a kid, and I always wanted to play. And I would hear people talk about Chet Atkins, and you know, Chet Atkins was a. There'll never be another guitar player who is a household name that everybody knows. I mean, there's some really good guitar players out here, but you could back when Chet was alive, you could talk to grandmothers, grandfathers, um, wives, moms. Everybody knew who Chet Atkins was. It was just a household name, because Chet played music that everybody could find something in. The guitar players would hear stuff and it was like, man, I want to be able to play that. And then just your average person could hear it and say, man, he really plays good, even though they didn't play. And guitar players now, they're really good, but I think a lot of them, they play more for guitar players than they do try to play music that the average person can enjoy. But anyway, to get off that, so when I was about 9, I started playing, and of course my uncle was my first, I guess you could say, my Uncle Buck, he was my first teacher. And then I heard Maybelle Carter, and I tried, she really made a big impact on me. And I tried to learn to play that style, and tried to find everything on the Carter family I could find. And then I got into Doc Watson and kind of got into flat picking. Well, then I went back into playing thumb style, finger style. And it was at a record store in Culpeper, Virginia called the Record Den one day, and they had a record with Chet and Jerry, and it was the one where they were both in the the little canoe on the cover. Anyway, I had seen Jerry. I think this was long after that album came out. This was probably 78 or 7. I think probably 78. And I had seen Smokey and the Bandit a little bit and knew Jerry as an actor. Well, when I got that album home and heard Jerry's breakdown, I mean, that just kind of kick-started me into playing Chet stuff and Jerry Reed stuff. And so for years, I tried to learn the best I could, because there was nobody really around my area that played that kind of music. So the Chet Atkins fan club started up. That was advertised in Fret's magazine, and I joined that right at the beginning. And so I played, and I would try to learn what I could, just from listening. It was hard because there was nobody around that played that style. It was guys that could show you a little bit here and there, but nobody really serious in Central Virginia, where I lived, that played that style. So John Knowles had a book, Heavy Necking, the Jerry Reed book, and he had that Chet Atkins book note for note from the Chet Atkins Goes to the Movies record. And I got those, and when I got the note for note book, I didn't know a thing about reading music. And the band teacher at our high school, Jim Sheldrake, he kind of taught me some about how to read music. So I started working on that book, and all I had was an 8-track tape of Chet Atkins Goes to the Movies, and the only 8-track tape player we had was in my mom and dad's car. So we went to the beach one year, and I I know it aggravated him because I got him to play that tape all the way down to Nags Head, North Carolina, and all the way back. Well, we got back to Virginia. The player ate up the tape, so that took care of my uh, having anything to listen to learn from that book. So I had to just learn from it. And after that, I got the Jerry Reed book, Heavy Necking, and I mean that was like giving a kid, the keys to a semi and asking him to drive it. My mom, she looked at it when I got it, and she said, "You think you can learn to play that stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna try." So I started working on the Jerry Reed stuff, and that was without having any records of it. I just did the music. I ain't like I had the one with I had one or two of his records, but a lot of the tunes in that book I never got to hear. I just had to learn them from the music. So anyway, and then fast forward to '86, and I went to the Chet convention and stuff like that, and finally got to meet him. And but anyway, I'm rambling. But as far as what Chet Atkins meant to me, he was one of the biggest inspirations in my life, along with Paul Yandle and John Knowles, and Jerry Reed and Merle Travis. And I couldn't give credit for playing without giving credit to Phil Hunt, because him and I, once we met and got to be friends, we would sit down and work on that stuff and kind of, okay, well, this is what I came up with. Well, this is what I came up with on this. And that's kind of how we learned. And then, but I've been blessed, really. I got to meet all my heroes, except for Merle Travis. I got to meet Chet and Jerry Reed, and Paul Yandle and I became really, really close friends, and along with his family, his son Micah and his wife Marie and Micah's wife Sherry. They've become like kind of a second family to me. But it was through Chet that all that happened, and Chet Atkins was a blessing in my life, and I was lucky enough to get to meet him a couple times, and he's one of the nicest people I ever met, to be as famous as he was. And so a lot of the good stuff that's happened to me in my life was because of Chet Atkins, even though I didn't really personally know him. So for those that have Chet as a hero, I think we picked a good one. So, and that's all I got to say. Bye.